Right, if you just saw that video, that intro, and went like, whoa, looks like nothing was done to a Land Cruiser, you're probably right. Nothing visually or aesthetically was done to this Land Cruiser. But I thought I'd make this video to showcase that actually this type of build, which we call the stage 1, actually takes 50% of what we do. Of course we do crazy stuff, but 50% of the work we do is only between stage 1 and stage 2. But for me, I think this is the most important part of the build. And for this 1FZ-FE Land Cruiser, which is a petrol 4.5 liter that is quite rare in Malaysia and not really highly after. The owner, before he purchased his vehicle, he gave us a call to check if we have a spot, asked for a quote, and then he was alright with it. He went up to Teluk Intan, which is up north of Malaysia, and then took the car and he could drive it back to us. It wasn't on a tow truck like most of our cars we get. He could drive it back. And the thing is, for this build, he's not a new owner to the Land Cruiser world. He already has two 80 series, but he had not done any work with us before. But he has obviously seen a lot of our work on media and things like that. But he was very clear that he just wanted to make it reliable and bottom end wise. Bottom end wise doesn't account for the engine and the gearbox. It's just everything below that. If you see in the, like this part of how we put together all the parts, you'll be better understand. The main things that we were addressing is things like bearings, suspension, bushes, and for bearings we are very particular to be mostly on Koyo or Timken. I like Timken, but it's getting a bit hard to find those bearings here in Malaysia. Koyo is the next best bet. And then the owner wanted the car to be on 35s. I did advise that for 35s the ratios should be changed, but he did get advice from friends or whatnot, and they did tell him that going on 35s you don't need to change ratio. Look, I normally try not to have too much of back and forth with the customer, especially if they're first time doing work with us. I was like, look, yep, no problem, you don't want ratios, it's fine, but keep in mind that if you do decide later on when you need them, then obviously labor is twice, because right now we're already going to tear apart everything to change the bearings, set the backlash and things like that, and if you do decide to change the ring and pinion, the ratios, the final drive ratios, we would have to do it again. Yeah, here's no problem, that's fine. The car came to us relatively okay condition, only single owner, not really much to shout about. And this now owner, the one who is our customer, did not want to give the car an undercoat, nothing, no dry ice blasting, nothing was done to this car, just full blown mechanically getting it fixed bottom end. Tires, he was set, run back the rims, but just changed tires, and he wanted 35s. Our go-to suspension is Pedis for this kind of builds. On paper Pedis is 4-inch, but most of the time effective lift is about 3.5 inch. And the owner wanted that, he just wanted the interior to be lightly touched, because eventually he wanted it to be his daily driver. He wanted things to be done in stages while he maybe gets rid of his other two 80 series. And yeah, then for this car, when we took it apart, the biggest thing that we found was the rear axle, the rear center, the pumpkin, the center diff, not the center diff, the rear diff was actually jammed up. You could not turn it by hand, and this made sense because when the owner drove the car over, he did say the car was a bit draggy, but normally we would think it's brakes, but for him it was actually the rear diff. And what I thought was, normally most of the time this happens is because wants to change the rear axle seal, the pinion seal, the flange, they just pull it out, pull out the seal, put back a new one in, put the flange on, and then hammer it with a rattle gun. I thought that over-torqued it or things like that, but it was not the case. This car had the issue of where wrong bearings were run, so obviously it was just jammed up, and it must have been recent because the seal was new, so they did change the seal, but they also changed the bearings, but it was the wrong one. So all that addressed, even the front portion, the drive shaft, the long shaft was contacting the stabilizer bar. So he had contacted enough that there was a dent on it, but it didn't matter to us because all our builds when we do, let's say we do bottom end stuff, we just tell the customer to have long shafts rebuilt and complete new sleeve and things like that, so we don't have any vibration issues. And this is very important for the full-time four-wheel drive cars. So yeah, you don't want a long shaft that is out of balance. Yeah, so overall it was a simple build, the one that we do a lot, but I have to say I feel it's the most important one. We got the brake lines done, things like that. Again, I'm making this video, so now we are like, I think it's the owner had the car for a month. He now comes back and says that he has to change the ratios. He feels like changing the ratios because the gear shifting and whatnot is not to his liking, so that's expected. But before we pass him back this car, he actually sent us another one of his 80 to do up. So yeah, I just thought this would be a quick short video to you guys know on what are the, like, besides doing the full-blown stuff that we do, we actually do a lot of this kind of build. Visually there's nothing to shout about because it all looks the same before it's in and after it goes out, but it's nice because these builds normally, like, they're done in stages. So after a while, when maybe 4 years 5 years down the road, you look back at the car and then you'll be like, whoa, okay. So yeah, pricing wise, the owner purchased this car for about 34,000 ringgit Malaysia. I would have a conversion down USD. The amount he spent was honestly similar to how much he purchased the vehicle. So tire, suspension and everything also came to close about 30 grand. And I believe it's reasonable. You have to keep in mind these cars have a lot of mileage on them, and to make them reliable properly, back to factory spec and even better, like upgraded parts, then that's just gonna be the price. Yeah, and after that I just want to thank you guys so much for the support on all media platforms. It has been amazing, and follow us along on our, I have got a few more videos planned for, I think the Hilux Surf, the Master Ace, the Surf Master Ace, and the Classic Mini is the one that I probably want to do up next. Thank you guys, and catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.